Hello and welcome everyone. Today we're going to explore an amazing book, The Millionaire Next Door, written by Thomas J. Stanley and William Danko. This book is not just about telling stories of rich people. It will teach you valuable lessons about how to grow, manage, and control your money. The authors conducted years of research on millionaires in the United States and found that most wealthy individuals don't live flashy lifestyles. Instead, they tend to live modestly, save money, and make wise financial decisions over time. By the end of this story, you will understand the secrets of building wealth, the importance of living below your means, and how saving and investing can help you achieve financial independence. Moreover, I will give you the key lessons from the book that millionaires live by, which you can apply to your life to build wealth. So make sure to listen to the story until the end. The Millionaire Next Door. In a quiet suburban neighborhood, there lived a man named John. On the outside, John's life didn't seem extraordinary. He didn't drive a fancy car, nor did he live in an extravagant house. He wasn't the kind of person you'd expect to see flaunting his wealth. In fact, John lived in a modest home, wore simple clothes, and drove an old car. To the casual observer, he looked like any ordinary middle-class person. John worked as an engineer, and while his income wasn't small, it wasn't huge either. He wasn't a CEO or a big-time entrepreneur, but John's wealth wasn't built on having a high-paying job. His wealth came from something far more important: discipline, smart financial choices, and living below his means. Unlike his neighbors, John didn't care for the latest gadgets, nor did he feel the need to drive a new car every few years. His focus was always on securing his future and ensuring his family would be financially stable no matter what happened. Across the street, there lived another man named Alex. Alex was the complete opposite of John. He had a large house, a shiny new car, and seemed to have everything anyone could ever want. To outsiders, Alex's life looked perfect. He was the type of person who enjoyed showing off his wealth. He went on expensive vacations, wore designer clothes, and often talked about how successful he was. But when John looked at Alex, something didn't quite add up. One evening, John and Alex bumped into each other at the local grocery store. Alex was bragging about his new car, the latest technology he had just purchased, and how much money he was making. John nodded, but he couldn't help but wonder why Alex was so focused on appearances. Alex didn't seem to be concerned with saving money, investing, or preparing for the future. "John, I've made it. Life is good," Alex said, smiling proudly. John smiled back, but didn't say much. He had been quietly observing Alex's lifestyle for a while now. The more Alex spoke, the more John noticed a pattern. Despite the fancy car and expensive lifestyle, Alex was always talking about the next big thing, the next purchase, and the next investment opportunity. However, Alex never spoke about how much money he was saving or how he was preparing for the future. John knew that Alex was likely living above his means. He had seen how Alex always needed to borrow money for his new ventures and how he didn't have much in savings. Alex's wealth was more about image than actual financial security. He was always spending on the now rather than saving for the later. John, on the other hand, wasn't focused on impressing anyone. He didn't care about having the latest gadgets, and he certainly didn't feel the need to buy a brand new car every few years. John had a plan, and his plan was focused on wealth building for the long term. His money was invested in stocks, real estate, and other assets that would grow over time. But John wasn't born rich. He had come from a modest background, just like most people. However, he had always been taught by his parents that living within your means and saving money was the key to financial security. His father had always said, "It's not how much you earn, but how much you keep and grow that matters." John took those words to heart, and over the years, he became incredibly disciplined about his money. He saved a percentage of his income every month, no matter how small, and invested it wisely. He didn't splurge on unnecessary purchases or go into debt to buy things he didn't need. One day, John had a conversation with his wife, Mary. They were sitting in their modest living room, sipping on coffee, talking about their financial future. "Mary," John said thoughtfully, "we've been very careful with our money for many years. We've invested in real estate, saved diligently, and lived below our means. I think we are on track to reach our financial goals." Mary, who had always been on the same page as John, smiled. "Yes, but it hasn't been easy. Sometimes I wonder if we are missing out on the luxuries others have. We see people with bigger homes, newer cars, and fancy vacations. They seem so happy." John nodded, but he quickly reminded Mary of their long-term goal, financial freedom. "The people we see living lavishly, Mary, may not be as wealthy as they appear. Most of them are living paycheck to paycheck, borrowing money, and relying on credit to maintain their lifestyle. We have something they don't: security. We may not have the biggest house, but we have savings. We may not drive the newest cars, but we are not in debt. And that gives us something they can't buy: peace of mind." The more John and Mary talked about their financial future, the more they realized how far they had come. They had built wealth slowly, step by step, with patience and discipline. It wasn't flashy or quick, but it was real and lasting. Years went by, and John's investments continued to grow. He became a wealthy man, but he didn't change his lifestyle. He still lived in his modest house, still drove his old car, and still wore simple clothes. The only difference was that his bank account was growing and he didn't have to worry about money anymore. Meanwhile, Alex, who had once been so confident in his material wealth, was starting to feel the strain. His spending habits had caught up with him, and he was finding it harder to maintain his lavish lifestyle. He was in debt, and his assets were slowly losing value. Despite his outward success, Alex was beginning to realize that his life wasn't as secure as he had thought. One day, Alex approached John again, looking troubled. "John," he said, "I've made some mistakes. I thought money was about showing off and living the high life, but now I'm in debt and I don't have anything to fall back on. What should I do?" John smiled kindly. "Alex, it's never too late to start living differently. The secret to building wealth isn't in how much you earn, it's in how much you keep and how wisely you invest. It's about living below your means and thinking long term." Alex listened carefully, taking in John's words. Slowly but surely, he began to change his habits. He started saving money, cutting back on unnecessary expenses, and investing in his future. It wasn't easy, but with time, he learned the valuable lesson that wealth isn't about having the most flashy toys. It's about financial independence and security. As the years went on, both John and Alex became financially successful, but in very different ways. John had quietly accumulated wealth through wise decisions, while Alex had learned the hard way and had to make some sacrifices to rebuild his financial security. John's story is a lesson to all. Wealth is not about living in the biggest house or driving the fanciest car. True wealth comes from living below your means, saving and investing wisely, and making disciplined financial choices over time. Anyone can be like John. You don't need to have a high paying job or be born into a wealthy family. All you need to do is follow the principles that millionaires live by. Live below your means, spend less than you earn, and save the difference. Invest wisely. Make your money work for you by investing in things like stocks, bonds, and real estate. Be disciplined, stick to a budget, and avoid impulse purchases. Think long term. Focus on building wealth gradually, not getting rich quickly. Have the right mindset. See money as a tool for securing your future, not as something to spend on temporary pleasures.